Hello my friends, my name is Artur and I am an Estonian soldier. Today we're gonna learn history, so if you don't like that, poof, go away. You can bring your children because it's gonna be a family-friendly video. We're gonna learn about the Battle of Midway, the biggest US-Japanese naval battle. Of course the US won, we know about that, but it was a close call, I've heard. And I've watched the video about the Japanese perspective. It was really tense and interesting, so I haven't really seen the US perspective. So we're gonna educate ourselves together now. I'm gonna try to sprinkle in some Estonian wisdom, though we don't have a navy compared to the US. Ours is tiny, but I'll do what I can. Today I don't have green tea in my Estonian Youtuber Cup. I have energy drink because I am so tired, but I still need to make videos, so sorry about that. Children, don't drink energy drinks. Learn history without them. I spilled everything. Taste of Midway. Let's go, my friends.
On a warm June summer day in 1942, fighters, bombers, and aircraft carriers would battle to decide the fate of the Pacific. This is history's war room. As a combat veteran, I've always found the Battle of Midway to be one of the finest examples of...
Look at this dude, he looks nice. US former captain, wearing his turtleneck and everything. Damn, I should adopt that style, I like it.
American strategic ingenuity during World War II. In the spring of 1942, beginning to feel vulnerable in their fight against the Americans, the Japanese hurried to expand their reach in the Pacific. They set their sights on Midway Atoll, a pair of islands almost directly in between the mainland United States and Japan. By 1942, Midway was home to a brand new American naval and air force base, and it would soon face its greatest challenge. This is the Battle of Midway.
Ooh, I mean, if you get the Midway Islands as Japan, you can just attack US from those islands, build your own bases there, bring your whole fleet there. US would be very threatened, so I guess it would decide the outcome of the entire war.
The Japanese Navy is led by Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. Worried about the scope and speed of America's wartime industry, Yamamoto believes the US naval forces need to be defeated quickly before the US can ramp up into full military production.
Yeah, that is true, because US has vast resources to pull from, so if the war drags out, Japan will run out of resources, but the US doesn't. In a long-term war, I think US could beat any nation in the world, so if you don't beat them fast, you won't beat them at all. Same thing was with Nazis in the Soviet Union. Blitzkrieg was supposed to be fast and quick and effective, because the Soviets had more resources and they could beat the Nazis in a drag-out war. But we all know how the Blitzkrieg went, and we all know how Japanese fast victory went, so it doesn't really work. Countries with resources will win.
Mirroring the success of Pearl Harbor, Yamamoto's entire strategy hinges on a surprise attack.
Oh.
On the day before the Midway invasion, Yamamoto will send a small force to the Aleutian Islands off the coast of Alaska. He expects the Americans will divert their fleet to defend the islands, drawing their forces away from Midway. Yamamoto plans his invasion of Midway itself in 3 phases. Phase 1. The Japanese 1st Carrier Striking Force will attack Midway Island by air. This group is led by Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo. His fleet is built around 4 first-line aircraft carriers: the Akagi, Kaga, Hiryu, and Soryu. Phase 2. After the
4 aircraft carriers. One carrier can carry about 50 to 100 planes back then, right? That number varies. But that means they would have at least 200 planes. 200 planes that can lift off in the matter of half an hour and just destroy everything on the ground. That's very dangerous. So this is it's the biggest Japanese force on the sea, I think. We know what happened, but if that attack would have succeeded, they could start threatening the US West Coast from here, right? They could start bombing it, have attack raids, carpet bombings, everything.
Construction of Midway's defenses, Yamamoto will bring in the Midway Invasion Force, commanded by Vice Admiral Nobutake Kondo. His ships will land 5,000 soldiers on the islands, crushing any remaining American forces. Phase 3. Yamamoto expects American reinforcements to arrive from Pearl Harbor, already diminished by the Japanese offensive in Alaska. Nagumo's force will strike again, attacking the Americans in concert with Yamamoto's own fleet of battleships, carriers, and destroyers. waiting 600 miles to the west. Yamamoto expects his secret plan to shock and overwhelm the American military, giving the Japanese a decisive victory and a strong foothold in the Pacific. But that's not what happens. Working in a windowless basement at Pearl Harbor, Commander Joseph Rochefort leads the U.S. Navy's Combat Intelligence Unit. By March of 1942, Rochefort and his team have deciphered much of the Japanese naval code. And, in a discovery that would save countless American lives, they learn the time, size, and strategy of the impending Midway invasion.
The entire counter ability of the US relies on the fact that they cracked the code. And also they cracked the Enigma also. I mean, wasn't the Polish who cracked it, but still, cracking the codes. If you can listen to enemy radio, if you know what they're gonna do, they can't really surprise you. And if they can't surprise you, and you are the stronger nation, they don't have any advantage. So I think US took the last advantage from Japan by cracking their code. You guys got the brains. Way to go, way to go. Japanese language is damn hard. If you crack that, nice. My friends, let's take this moment and thank the patrons. Patrons have been very consistent throughout this corona madness, and still when I was taking a break they were still consistent. So thank you for being there, thank you for supporting. I have 3 new names for you. We have Justin C. Thank you, Mr. C. We have Mark Rend. Yes, Mark, Estonian name, very much Estonian name. He must be Estonian. This is the second time I read your name. Hästi paned mees, Eesti toetus kulub ka ära. Finally, we have Casey Ray. Thank you, Casey, for becoming a patron. If you want to support the channel, the link is in the description below. That's a damn Zamboni going away. In the middle of summer.
Admiral Chester Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, immediately starts drawing up a plan. He will fight the battle mainly in the air, keeping his carriers well out of striking distance of the Japanese Navy. Nimitz's 3 carriers are split into 2 groups. Task Force 17 is led by Admiral Frank Jack Fletcher, who is also given command of tactical decisions during the battle. The USS Yorktown serves as his flagship. The second carrier group, Task Force 16, is led by Rear Admiral Raymond Spruance. Spruance's group includes the aircraft carriers Enterprise and Hornet. The U.S. forces are ready. Yamamoto believes he has the Americans cornered, when in fact, Nimitz is the one laying the trap.
Oh, damn.
On June 3rd, Yamamoto strikes the Aleutian Islands as planned, but Admiral Nimitz, anticipating his moves, has stationed a small contingent to defend the Aleutians, saving the majority of his forces for the impending Midway invasion. As Yamamoto's forces approach Midway, he receives intelligence suggesting there may be American carriers in the area. Yamamoto wants to inform Admiral Nagumo, whose fleet is farther along towards Midway. However, the Japanese were suspicious of the Americans listening in on their radio communications, and thus Yamamoto chooses to maintain radio silence. Meanwhile,
that's a decision.
At Midway,
Hard one.
U.S. forces prepare for the Japanese attack. Ensign Jack Reed, flying his PBY Catalina scout plane through heavy fog, just barely spots the first Japanese ships at 0925. Reed thinks he has spotted the main fleet, but in reality, it is Vice Admiral Kondo's invasion force, the group meant to attack Midway in Phase 2 of Yamamoto's plan. 9 B-17 bombers are dispatched to attack Kondo's ships. But
9 bombers. They thought it's the main fleet. I will connect this to the Japanese side, which I saw back then, and wave after wave of American bombers went in, and quite a few of them were shot down, and I thought, why do the Americans do this? But now I see, it's because they thought they had the main fleet. They would send wave after wave and bomb them down, but it's not the main fleet, it's the ground invasion fleet. And they have anti-aerial ships. So Americans did lay the trap, but there were a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinformation, which cost them about 30 to 40 bombers, I think.
Can't land any hits. Although tactically inconsequential, this attack marks the first military engagement of the battle. Kondo, adhering to the Japanese policy of radio silence, doesn't inform Nagumo of the bomber attack. Nagumo has no inkling of an American ambush.
He doesn't know.
On the morning of June 4th, 15 American B-17 bombers take off from Midway to search for and attack any Japanese naval targets. Shortly thereafter, Admiral Nagumo launches his Midway attack as planned.
I have a question here. If you know anything about naval battles, is bombing a ship the best answer? Because it's quite difficult to hit a ship. Ship is like a narrow thing if you look at it in the air, and it's quite hard to hit it. It's not an easy thing, especially if they're shooting at you. You can't go really close by, so wouldn't fighters be the better idea? You can shoot at the ship. Incendiary ammunition, for example, that would set things ablaze. I don't really know. I know they use the bombers, but I would think it's really hard to hit anything. And when I watched the Japanese perspective, it showed that like 3 to 4 first waves of bombers almost hit nothing but water. And they were shot down. Like waves after waves were shot down. So why bombers? Why not something else? While you think about that question, I'll tell you that you can go to Discord if you want to. It's free for everybody. We have 1,500 members already, and after this video, I'm going to chat with the members. Yes, voice chat. If you want to voice chat with me, you have to become a member of this channel. This will give you a general role in Discord, and I will voice chat with you. You can also become a soldier or sergeant. It will give you cool color to your name. You can send links and pictures and all kind of perks you will get for it. Sergeants and generals will get a free cup every once in a while. Go to the Discord, become a member of this channel, and have fun in the server.
108 aircraft, including A6M-0 fighters, D3A Val dive bombers, and B5N Kate torpedo bombers. The Americans launched 4 separate groups of aircraft to attack the Japanese fleet. 6 Navy Grumman TBFs, 4 Army B-26 Marauders, 16 Marine SBD-2 Dauntlesses, and 11 Marine SB-2U Vindicators.
The battle begins.
At 05:56, the air raid siren blares at Midway as the incoming Japanese planes are spotted. Squads of F-2A Buffalo and F-4F Wildcat fighters engage the Japanese attackers at 06:16.
I love these shots.
Japanese pilots swiftly bomb Midway's hangars, runways, hospital, and power plant.
I mean, it looks horrible.
The American fighters are outnumbered, but still manage to defend their base. After 27 minutes of hell raining down on Midway, the first phase of Yamamoto's attack ends.
Okay, so Midway was a bait. The Americans allowed the Japanese to attack. Well, how do I know all of this? Because I have already talked to a supporter of this channel, Steven Fior. Yeah, he recommended to me to watch the Japanese perspective, and he knows a lot about it, so we chat about it. He told me that Midway was a bait. The Americans were not afraid to let it get bombed, because that brought them the whole Japanese fleet, which they could take it down. So to lose one airfield and gain whole naval superiority was a small price to pay. So you might think, oh, the Americans are setting the trap, why do they let them bomb Midway? It was a tactical decision. They did sacrifice Midway to get all of the aircraft carriers. I mean, I wouldn't know this without Steven, so thank you, Steven, for the insight.
But was it enough? At 07:05, a Japanese pilot breaks radio silence to inform Nagumo another air attack is needed to finish off the American base. Nagumo is faced with one of the most consequential decisions of the battle. Does he launch another bombing attack on Midway? Or does he prepare for a naval battle with potential American aircraft carriers as planned?
Yeah, because they found out that our aircraft...
Bombs and torpedoes start to rain down on his fleet. American squadrons launched earlier from Midway have finally reached the Japanese carriers. Nagumo is shocked. There's no way the Americans could have reached his fleet so quickly unless they knew of his location in advance.
By the way, these 3 squadrons of bombers, they all missed. Every one of them missed. No single hit. And a lot of them were shot down a lot by Zeros, which this video doesn't tell you. Until like the very end of the battle, actually Japanese, they weren't winning, but they shot down a lot of American bombers and they bombed the Midway, so they were kinda superior. But in the end what happened, of course, changed everything. But yeah, Americans lost a lot of bombers here. But again, a small sacrifice for the USA to gain an entire victory. I have a cup, I have a cup. It's the Estonian Youtuber Cup. I have a cup, you have a cup. We have the Estonian Youtuber Cup. On the 4th of July, the biggest day for you Americans in the year, not the 1st of January, no, it's the 4th of July, this competition will actually end. Yes, we will have a winner. What will happen to the winning state? I will have the flag of the winning state behind my videos in the background. I will visit the winning state when I go to the USA, and third of all, I'll make a detailed history video about that state. So if you want your state to win, go and get this magnificent cup. I mean, you can't watch my videos without it anyway, so might as well get it. The timing of the live stream on 4th of July, I said it would be 8 AM, but some places in USA still wouldn't have 4th of July, they would have 3rd of July, so maybe I'll postpone it for 3 to 4 hours, maybe 10 AM or 11 AM, then all of the US, by Estonian time, will have 4th of July already. First of all, we have Burke Allen from Nashville, Tennessee. 2 N's, 2 S's, 2 E's. We got Michael Maglier from Webster. All web pages are made in there. I know it to be a fact. That's in New York. I haven't heard New York for a while actually. New York has 4, well now it's 5. Yeah, 5. John Williams from Richardson, Texas. There will be a state of the day today and we'll find out about the fact, but I wonder why Texas hasn't been the state of the day. Texas used to have 2 orders every video, now it's just the first one in like 3 to 4 videos, so hey Texans, what happened to you? Wake up! 50 for Texas. We got Lindsay Harbach, I don't know, Lindsay, a girl, very good. Lindsay, you're from Atlantic Beach, it's not the Pacific Beach, Atlantic Beach, Florida. We have a Florida woman! Not a Florida man, but a Florida woman! Way to go, Florida woman! We got Scott Knack. What a weird family name, but a cool one also. That's in Greenlawn in New York. New York. I've heard it before. New York is the state of the day. 2 orders in a video. Way to go, Scott. Let me add the point, and then we will learn about the state of the day fact. And New York gets a green line also. The green line of fame. The state of the day fact about New York is the New York subway, which opened in 1904, so it opened a lot of years ago, over 100 years ago, is still the biggest public transportation system in the whole world. So way to go, New Yorkers. I mean, it's bad for Corona and stuff, but if you don't have Corona, you're very efficient. Now let's add the green line of fame under its name. Yeah, my friend, shiny place for New York in the history. Way to go. As I said, 4th of July, 10 AM in the morning Estonian time. Just be ready when 4th of July happens in America. I'll be live streaming. Be ready in YouTube. We'll add all of the points on the board. I am not able to read all the names because that would take about 10 hours. So I'm just gonna add them in bulk. Sorry, but we will still find out who will win. Back to the video.
As Nagumo tries to figure out what to do next, he is shocked again as the American submarine Nautilus emerges behind his fleet. In the midst of all this panic, Nagumo still has to make his decision. And at 07:15, he does. He will rearm his planes with bombs and prepare for a second attack on Midway. But 13 minutes after Nagumo issues his order, a Japanese scout spots 10 American ships off Midway. Nagumo is stunned. There weren't supposed to be any ships. As American pilots continue to attack his fleet, he orders his crews to stop arming bombs and prepare those aircraft still armed with torpedoes to attack the enemy ships. Across the battlefield, Admiral Spruance's carriers Enterprise and Hornet are busy launching 116 aircraft to attack the Japanese carriers.
116! Whoa! That's gonna be a big dogfight. I think that's the wave that has consequences, because last 3 waves of bombers missed everything, so this will definitely get something.
Yorktown prepares to launch more. At 08:20, Nagumo receives confirmation of at least 1 American aircraft carrier in the area. He is shaken, but can't act until his bombers finish returning from Midway. Yamamoto also receives the report of the American carrier, but expecting Nagumo to attack immediately, chooses not to interfere and allows the battle to play out on its own, a decision that will prove costly. Nagumo's bombers finally return, and he orders his fleet to redirect towards the one American carrier he knows of. Not a minute later, the first squadron of Devastator dive bombers arrives from the Hornet. Unescorted by fighters, all 15 are shot down. Two more...
See, yeah, Japanese Zeros were really good. They were really agile in battle, they could move real fast, they were flexible. So, as you could see, they took down a whole wave. And this is not something Americans could actually predict. This is not sacrifice, this is surprise to Americans, as I found out. They did not intend to lose these. They thought they're gonna surprise attack the Japanese and take down at least something, but the Zeros took down all of the damn bombers, so they were good. But I mean, not that good. I mean, they didn't know, Japanese didn't know that they would have to fight, and all aircraft carriers in Pacific of America were facing against them. They didn't know that, so...
More air groups follow, one from the Hornet and the other from Yorktown. Of the 26 Devastators sent in, only 6 return.
Most of them shot down.
Americans are overmatched.
They shot down a lot of bombers, which
Confident
makes me kind of like
the upper hand.
Or
the Japanese take time to refuel and rearm their fighters. When out of nowhere, 26 American Dauntlesses roar out of the sunlight and dive bomb the Kaga. This is Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey and his air group, the first to launch off the Enterprise that morning at 0706. Their mission was to attack the Japanese carriers, but when McCluskey and his men arrived at the supposed location, there were no enemy ships in sight. Dangerously low on fuel and unable to contact his superiors because of radio silence, McCluskey has a decision to make. He can safely return to the Enterprise, or take one last stab at the enemy carrier with what little fuel he has left. He makes a choice Admiral Nimitz later called one of the most important decisions of the battle. Acting on instinct, McCluskey turns his squadron northwest, following the path he thinks the Japanese will take towards the American fleet.
Pure luck.
His quick thinking shifts the tide at Midway, and the next 5 minutes will determine the course of the battle.
Oh. Good instincts, my friend. See, in battle, you don't have much information. This is the fog of war. You don't know where the enemy is. They're not there where they're supposed to be. You follow your gut, and you can't train for that. You have to trust yourself. Such a small thing plays a huge damn role.
McCluskey's group drops 9 bombs that hit, one striking a gasoline truck near the bridge that kills the entire command staff. The Kaga is effectively destroyed. Within minutes, fighters...
The Japanese perspective said that the Kaga had aircraft on its deck refueling. That means if one of them explodes, the fuel tanks, all of them explode. It's like a time bomb, basically. So they hit one, they hit all of them. One bomb was enough to take down the entire carrier. And all of the other carriers have the same mistakes, actually. You need one lucky shot.
Fighters and bombers from the Yorktown arrive. They dive and attack the Soryu, inflicting 3 hits on the port side. They strike the munitions, setting off a chain reaction that engulfs the entire ship in flames. The next target is Admiral Nagumo's command ship, the Akagi. U.S. fighters strike the Akagi's deck, destroying planes waiting to take off. A Japanese sailor would later call the scene a burning hell. Nagumo is forced to transfer off the burning Akagi to the light cruiser Nagara and radios Yamamoto with the devastating update. Only one carrier remains, the Hiryu, and only because it was well ahead of the rest of the Japanese fleet. The battle is slipping away from Nagumo, and he knows it. He launches an air attack on the Yorktown. 18 dive bombers and 6 fighters take off from the Hiryu, but the Japanese planes are intercepted en route by American fighters. 14 Japanese planes survive the air battle, and at noon they successfully attack the Yorktown, setting the American carrier ablaze within minutes. The Yorktown is damaged, but still functional. Nevertheless, Admiral Fletcher transfers to the nearby heavy cruiser Estonia and hands over his command of the battle to Admiral Spruance, stationed aboard the Enterprise. Meanwhile, A second wave launches from Hiryu, headed to strike the Yorktown yet again. Nearly the same scenario plays out. Americans intercept the Japanese 15 minutes out and manage to take down a few planes.
But see, they managed to take down a few planes, meanwhile Japanese took down wave after wave of American bombers. I'm not praising the Japanese, I just wanted to be clear that their Zeros were really damn good. We don't really talk about this, but I don't know what was about those planes. I guess they were the only plane that American fighters were actually afraid of, because they were unpredictable.
Japanese torpedo bombers break through and land 2 blows on the Yorktown. The carrier tilts 26 degrees to its port side, the flight deck almost touching the water. At 14:55, Captain Elliot Buckmaster orders, "Abandon ship." In retaliation, Admiral Spruance orders all available dive bombers to attack the Hiryu, now only 72 miles out from the
Oh, they're so close.
40 unescorted Dauntlesses take off from Enterprise and Hornet, the fighters left behind to defend the carriers. The American bomber group dives on the Hiryu. It takes several critical hits and is left disabled. It is the final surprise for the Japanese and the fatal blow. Major combat is over. Although small clashes will continue over the next 2 days, the Americans have decidedly won the Battle of Midway. Both sides sustained major losses, but the Japanese even more so. By the best estimates, the Japanese lost 2,500 servicemen, 292 aircraft, and 1 heavy cruiser, along with their 4 aircraft carriers. The Americans ultimately sacrificed the Yorktown, 1 destroyer, 145 aircraft, and 307 servicemen.
Oh, okay.
What was the impact
of
of the Battle
aircrafts.
of Midway? The Japanese abandoned their plan to expand into the Pacific and would remain on the defense for the rest of World War II. The American victory exemplified the indispensable power of code-breaking and tactical foresight. The tide of the war shifted. The Japanese military had lost a great deal of morale. The U.S. military and the American public were energized for the first time since Pearl Harbor. The Japanese could be defeated, and the Americans would be the ones to do it.
Yes, because up until that point, Japanese Empire was really powerful and it looked like no one is going to defeat them. They had occupied up to, I think, 6 different nations, won a war against Soviets, occupied huge, vast territories, attacked America, which no nation had done before, so they were actually an enemy to be afraid of. Americans weren't afraid of the Nazis, because they were far in the Europe and they just go to the other continent and fight them there on their soil, but Japanese could attack the Americans. So for the Americans, for you guys, I would imagine Japan, the empire was a bigger threat than the Nazis. But once again, more resources, more brains, and a more flexible system in the military as the US has wins the battle. We have been educated, I love it. Now we know about the Battle of Midway, the American perspective. I suggest you go and watch the Japanese perspective. It's a bit more detailed and it gives you a lot of insight on the other side, why the Japanese did things as they did. Now I will go and chat with the generals in Discord. If you want to do that also, join the channel, become a member, pick a role for yourself in Discord, and let's meet there. Until my next video, my friends, go and get the cup. Stay cool. And bye bye.